very warm welcome, and it's always a pleasure to have you with me, Miss Chapman. Ginger, Trump's move to cancel the visas of Brazilian judges has been widely condemned. How extraordinary is this from a diplomatic and legal standpoint?
Yes. Well, hello, Rana, and it is a pleasure to be with you today, and greetings to your viewers. And what we are seeing is an escalation between America and Brazil, and as you noted, this does not have to do solely with trade and tariffs. We have seen the United States presidents use punitive sanctions and tariffs in order to get their way in the past. However, this time is different because the United States is in a considerably weaker position, which we have seen by President Da Silva's statements to the press and also at his BRICS summit that was just held in Rio de Janeiro. And a very good first question to ask is, how would President Trump and Secretary Rubio respond if another country sanctioned American judges on the basis of American court decisions? So in one sense, Trump is meddling in the internal affairs, in the judiciary of another country. This in itself is not unusual. And Trump is putting himself on the line for his friend and political ally, Jair Bolsonaro, who is under house arrest and facing charges. Da Silva says he is going to be convicted. However, what this means for the United States is we are antagonizing one of the few countries that we do not have a trade deficit with. And this is going to antagonize not just our relationship with Brazil, but also our relationship with the BRICS countries themselves. And this is because the United States is no longer in a dominant position. We can no longer just impose our will and policies on other countries. And what we are seeing is that President Da Silva's position in Brazil, his standing, is actually improving. So in response to Trump and Rubio's threat of sanctions, threat of revoking visas, we are seeing Lula now becoming a hero to the Brazilian people for standing up against the big American Yankee bullies. Da Silva is also now pushing the BRICS countries to hurry up and create these alternative financial and economic arrangements outside of the United States dollar. Specifically, Da Silva is encouraging the BRICS countries to start trading more frequently in their own currencies. So Trump has picked a fight with Brazil, and it appears that this is not a fight that we are going to be able to win. Partly, Trump's personnel, he has made the same mistakes in his second term that he made in his first term with staffing his cabinet and his personnel picks. He has picked personnel for their loyalty to him as opposed to their competence for the job they're supposed to do. So instead of personnel, cabinet members advising Trump, giving him feedback, all of his cabinet members are yes men. They are all agreeing with what Trump says, and they're only trying to carry out his dictates. This is disadvantaging Trump.
Yes, this is probably because if they're not saying yes and they're not doing what he dictates, they're gone.
Yes, and this winds up giving authority over carrying out his policies to other countries. For example, our Secretary of State, our foreign policy is Secretary of State Rubio, Pete Hegseth. They are not living up to their job. As a result, Israel has been able to take over our foreign policy in the Middle East. As far as trade relations, We see Secretary Rubio is not able to handle these high-level diplomatic negotiations. He is more in the background than he is up front. And as a result, other countries are able to dominate our trade relations and able to dominate the media coverage. And as a result, Trump is looking more and more chaotic, less in control of our own trade and economic policies, and he is looking more reactive.
True, true, Ms. Ginger. Ms. Ginger, the legal rationale seems thin, while the political motivations seem clear. Is this an abuse of executive power in international affairs?
This is an abuse of the executive power, and we're seeing this because Trump is having a difficult time carrying this out. Normally, if we want to sanction another country, if we want to put foreign policy pressure on them to do what we want, we normally have the president work with Congress in order to craft legislation to for any number of things. For example, if we do not want Chinese entities to buy land in the United States, our Congress could pass a law. If we want Brazil to behave more fairly to political opponents, we can work with the legislature to pass a law. So in a sense, Trump is trying to carry out more than he is authorized under his executive authority, and this is why he is struggling. His abuse of executive authority combined with America's diminishing power and influence on the world stage is why we are having difficulty pushing forward our policies and getting other countries to comply with them as easily as we did even a decade ago. The world has changed.
Lula has seized the moment to portray himself as a defender of Brazilian sovereignty. Has Trump's intervention accidentally strengthened his political rival's position?
Yes, this is a curious phenomenon. When we try to silence or censor someone, they become elevated. People want to hear more of what they say. So just by trying to bully and silence President da Silva, President Trump has inadvertently elevated his position and positioned da Silva as a true patriot of Brazil who is battling the big American bully. Trump experienced this himself when he was under persecution here at home. This elevated his position. So inadvertently, Trump is making President da Silva a Brazilian hero, a folk hero standing up for the rights of his people. This is also elevating his voice in BRICS as da Silva is pushing BRICS to more aggressively pursue alternative currencies and alternative trade relations outside of the United States. Also, if we do place these 50% tariffs on Brazil, this will only hurt American consumers. We love Brazilian coffee, oranges, beef. We use a lot of their soybeans, copper, iron. This will only hurt the American consumer and inadvertently increase China's purchase of these same commodities from Brazil. So by punishing Brazil, we are driving Brazil and China closer together. Interestingly,
we're driving all the countries closer to China. This is, if we continue your narrative, Ginger, if we continue, if Donald Trump continues in this space, then he is combining all countries now globally with China, which makes China stronger than the United States today, and this drawbacks the United States, and it's a backlash for the United States.
Yes, Rana, you are most accurate. You hit the nail right on the head. Another great example is we are threatening 100% tariffs on China and India for buying Russian oil. At the same time, we want India to punish Russia and China, and we are threatening to put 100% tariffs on India. We are asking India to help us contain China economically. So just by looking at our tariffs, we see that President Trump is becoming almost schizophrenic. We are using tariffs to punish countries. At the same time, we are asking for their cooperation with other adversaries and with other supposed allies. So overall, what we're seeing with Brazil, China, India, secondary tariffs is Trump is painting the American people into a corner. He is getting us into a situation we may not easily get out of if we alienate all of our economic and trading partners, and if we persist in using tariffs as a weapon, as an economic
It won't
club to
work. It
bully.
won't continue working.
Yes, and we need increased diplomatic negotiations. We need to work with other countries. However, because of Trump's personnel picks, because of the incompetency of his cabinet, which the American people are realizing, we see that Trump is, instead of having more diplomatic negotiations, he is using our diminishing authority and our diminishing of power and influence to bully other countries into trade agreements and into the end of conflicts in the Middle East, in Ukraine, Latin America, China. And what we are seeing is one, we cannot bomb our way to peace, and we cannot bully our way to good economic negotiations. So
Many
right now,
thanks. So go ahead, say your last sentence. What did you want to say?
thank you, Rana. Right now, 7 months into Trump's new terms, we're at a critical period. Once again, we cannot kill or bomb our way to peace. We cannot bully our way to good economic relations. So we're at a critical time, and the world is watching.
And we are waiting and watching, of course, to see, of course, 7 months, as we mentioned in the last interview. We're going to wait and see where U.S. President Donald Trump is taking the United States towards. Many thanks, Ginger Chapman, for your sharp legal and geopolitical insights.